As a math teacher, I hear the phrase, "When are we ever going to use this in real life?" all the time. As a math student, you've probably said it. If you haven't said it, you've probably thought it. And I'm glad you're wondering it. It's important to tie what you learn in math class into your real life, so it feels useful and helps you remember it better. We always see math problems where Susie is going to buy light bulbs and only has $50, so how many light bulbs can Susie buy? In reality, Susie's going to buy as many as she needs and ask her parents for more money if $50 isn't enough. So what I present to you today is real-life examples using some of the math concepts you've learned about in your middle school math class. Alright class, today we're going to continue our lesson on proportions. Here's the first problem. We have a rectangle with sides 3 and 6. If this similar rectangle has a side of 12, what is the unknown side? We can set up a proportion.
Excuse me, when are we ever going to use this?
I'm glad you asked. You'd be surprised how often proportions are used in the real world, probably in some of the jobs you're interested in having. Let's say you want to be a chef for a fancy restaurant. You know this really great soup recipe that your family just loves, and you want to cook it for your restaurant, but the recipe is only big enough for a family of 4. You could make the recipe over and over, or you could use proportions to figure out how to make a big, huge pot of soup that will feed everyone in your restaurant. If you need 3 cups of water in your soup for the recipe that feeds 4 people, here's a proportion for how many cups of water you would need in your soup to feed 20 people. Do this with the rest of your ingredients and you've got a restaurant-sized batch. This is just one example of proportions in the real world, but lots of other jobs use them. Good morning, class. Today we're going to be reviewing some surface area calculations of different shapes. Let's say you wanted to find the surface area of this pyramid. Does anybody remember how to do this?
Excuse me, I have a question. When are we ever going to use this?
What a great time for that question. Surface areas, along with other geometric values, are extremely useful for many jobs like engineers, construction workers, or architects. Let's say you're an architect and you want to design a really cool room in one of your buildings. You'll need to figure out how much paint you need to cover the walls and how much carpet you need to cover the floors. Here's your room. You'll need to find the areas of all the walls for your paint and the area of the floor for your carpet. This uses the exact same methods of calculating surface area that we're learning today.
But what if I'm not going to be a chef or an architect?
Well, there's lots of reasons. You never really know what kind of job you will end up at, and you may need it someday. I can give you a complicated formula and you know how to plug in numbers and give me an answer, but understanding how the formula is used will be way more useful. Here's the formula for the volume of this cylinder. You may never need to know how to calculate the volume of a cylinder, but understanding the relationship between the radius of the base and the volume will help you understand other types of relationships. But even if you never have to calculate a proportion, surface area, or volume in your job, the type of thinking that goes into those concepts will be useful to you later. You're learning spatial and numerical reasoning. If you take harder math classes, these fundamentals will be really useful. And even if you don't, you're learning how to think in multiple dimensions and relate things to one another. Just like you lift weights to train your muscles to be stronger, doing math is training your brain to do higher level thinking. I hope this answers the question, when are we ever going to use this, for you. We teachers hear it all the time, and we want you to keep asking.